Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Seth O'Neill is a frickin' moron, and he says that this is evidence that you are hallucinating reality. So it occurred to me to ask the question, what would satisfy them? So they have got these squares that are objectively the same color. Objectively, an objective fact in reality, it's the same color of wavelength that's coming from them. But over on this side of the picture, it appears that they are different. It really appears for the life of you that they are different. And it's called Your Brain Hallucinates Your Conscious Reality by Anil Seth. It's a TED Talk. So if he calls that an hallucination, and let me give my explanation real quick, but if he calls that an hallucination, what would satisfy him? What would be objective perception? So, here's my explanation of why it's not an hallucination. You are not 6 months old, or else you're not listening to this video if you're 6 months old. Therefore, you have seen a lot of shadows. You've seen shades, you're familiar with what a shadow does. Your brain is familiar with it. Even if you don't really think very hard about these things, you have seen shadows a lot of times, and you do have a good piece of equipment between your ears that keeps track of things. And even if you don't focus on them and think about them, the fact that you keep your eyes open every day and don't run into things means you're focusing at least enough to notice objects around you. So you know what a shadow is. What would that shadow be doing to an object that is objectively, to your eyeballs, having the exact same color? Well, it would have some effect on the shade then, wouldn't it? And your brain knows that. And so your brain predicts that fact. Your brain says, if we were to move this object over into the light, its color would change. And so your brain, knowing these things about shadows and the way that shades work, projects this information onto the image. An objectively true fact. Now they think that they've tricked you with their little thing here, but they haven't tricked you, and that's what I'm asking him. Your brain has seen through it. Your brain has actually found a way to tell you, hey, this is going to change shade when you move it into the light. Your brain has found a way to interpret that correctly. You now say that you are causing an hallucination. What would the objective way of seeing that be? Are you saying that objectively you would see the shades as different? And so then all of a sudden it occurred to me, is this an anomaly of computer graphics? So I would actually like to see this reproduced in real life. And that occurred to me like a, flash of, wait a minute. So, if he's making up a computer graphic that could not be reproduced with an actual tin can and shades of gray in a studio, if he's using a computer graphic to say that we hallucinate, he's a real scumbag. So, now I'm going to have to see if it could be reproduced in a studio, but let's say it couldn't be. Then he's dirtbag of the century. Now let's say it could be. Let's say you reproduce it. Well, then I'm right. If you reproduce it and it works the way he says, then I'm right. Your eyeballs are able to tell, your brain is able to tell you something about reality, even though they're trying to trick you and they're putting this supposed shadow in front of it and stuff. So, what would it be, Anil? What would it be? How would you perceive it if you perceived it objectively? I don't get it. I don't get how it would be different. We do perceive it objectively, not hallucinatorially. We perceive it as it would really actually be modified by the shadow. That's reality from experience. If that's an hallucination, what would objective perception of it be? I don't get it. How would you see it?